my fellow readers. My name is Greg, and this is Ghost Readers in the Sky, where I start by reading the literature and history of the American West, and then I gallop off into whatever direction I feel like. Today is a tag day. This is the Are TBRs Fun or Not? Candy at the Great Literary Rabbit Hole put this tag together. If anybody's new to the acronym, TBR, to be read. And a lot of us keep a pile of books, whether that's physical books or a list or whatever. But these are the books that we want to read. Sometimes these days they're called a pile of possibilities. Anyway, is it fun to have this list of books that you want to read? That's the question. I'm going to start by framing this in how I look at not only the list of books that I want to read, but so many parts of my life. I always think about now and next and later. So what am I doing right now? What's the next thing I'm going to do when I finish what I'm doing now? And then what's all that other stuff out there in the future for later? And I think about books that I want to read in the same way. So I will probably be referring to that now, next, later idea as we progress. Question 1. There are 12 of these questions or prompts. Number 1, how many books are currently or normally on your TBR? I have, again, because I have a now, next, later approach, I'm usually only reading 1, sometimes 2 books now, rarely more than that. But what's coming next is usually a fairly small group, usually not more than 2 or 3. When I finish the one I'm doing now, when I finish what I'm reading right now, what comes next? And I really want to keep that choice pretty narrow, and I want to make sure I have a copy. So do I need to purchase one or borrow one? Is it available on Project Gutenberg? Is it available from the library? And if it is available from someplace that I have to borrow it from, will I have it when I finish the now so it can be the next? So that's a fairly short 2 to 3. And then the serious later, I'm usually putting that together based on what's currently happening in life. So that includes booktube events, group reads, things that I've heard about from friends, and things that I know other people are enjoying. So again, it's fairly narrow. Of the thousands of books I want to read, there still is a fairly small group that's probably in the 25-ish range, give or take, a couple of dozen, somewhere in there, of what's really coming later. So right now, for example, I am we're still into this Spring into Adventure event. I've got a couple of things that I'm going to try to squeeze in. One for sure, maybe another one. Probably not. That'll probably wrap up the month of May, and that event will be over, and I won't push hard to do more of the adventure books. But then in June, we get June on the Range. We get Book Trek. We get the Summer of Sport. We got the Summer of Steinbeck. So there are some things I'm going to do with group reads with Steinbeck. with John Berryman. There are also a whole lot of things I want to do for June on the Range. I got an idea or two about Book Trek. I got an idea or two about the Summer of Sport. And those are all the things that are mixed up together. And then, into July, you get Rocket Summer. So I'm starting to think about those. So what am I going to do over the next couple of months? And I really can't think in very serious ways about more than 2 or 3 months ahead. So what was the question? Oh yeah, how many books are normally on a TBR? I have 1 or 2 that I'm reading right now. I have kind of 2 or 3 that are in that what I'm going to choose from next, and then 2 to 3 dozen that are later. And I only that horizon for me for later is the next 2 to 3 months. So that makes sense, doesn't it? It does to me. Number 2. We're only on number 2? I've been filming for 7 minutes and we're only on number 2? I'm rambling. Number 2. How do you choose TBR books? And have you ever gamified your TBR? Prompt jars or TBR games? I guess I kind of answered that with how I choose what's on my TBR and what I'm going to read next. And I really don't do any gamification. I guess I hadn't really thought about this until I started doing BookTube and talking about the books I choose and why. I am more of a mood reader than I realized. I'm really looking at what makes sense for me to read now. What do I want to read right now? And how does that fit into the rest of life? What else is going on in my life? What limitations am I going to have on reading? What am I going to have extra time? All those kinds of things. And so to gamify it, I think would be too much pressure. And I doubt I'm ever going to be the kind of booktuber who says, hey, I'm going to put up a poll here and you choose what book I read next. I just don't think I'm going to do that because even if it's a book I want to read, that seems like a lot of pressure to me. And I just don't think I'm ready for that. So no gamification. Number 3, do you have reading areas of focus to choose books for? And if yes, how many? So yes, I have areas of focus. It's really around what events am I going to participate in? Because I like to be reading things that are similar to what my BookTube friends are reading, what my friends in real life are reading. Is there part of a book club or some group read that I'm doing in real life as well as with BookTube friends online? So one thing is that events that are coming up. So I'm always looking at that. I'm always thinking about what I want to reread and trying to decide, do I want to, at this point, read something that I have already read? Maybe it's been a while. Maybe we've been having conversations about some book in some group, in some chat. And I'm deciding based on that. So yeah, that's kind of my area of focus. Other than that, I really don't compartmentalize. There are so many things I'm interested in. Of course, the American West and both literature and history and old stuff and new stuff and everything in between. So yeah, I have areas of focus in both fiction and nonfiction. In nonfiction, I'm looking more at history and nature writing and essays and maybe travel logs. In fiction, I'm thinking about old versus new. What are classics? What are kind of golden age books? What books are coming out now? So I'm thinking about a lot of these categories, but I don't really think about how many books belong in each category. So yes, I have categories, I have areas of interest, but no, I don't pay a lot of attention to that as I'm building out my upcoming TBR. Number 4, does a TBR help you focus? Yes. I become anxious if I don't know what is coming next. And if I don't know that, if I think I have a book that I'm going to finish and I'm within a few pages, or if I'm doing the audio version, I'm within the last hour of the book and I don't know what's coming next, I get all freaked out. So I need that focus. I need to know what's coming after this, even though I don't usually go from one book straight into the next one. I'm stopping to reflect on the book. I'm stopping to take notes. I'm stopping to write any kind of reviews. But I want to make sure that I know what the next thing is. So yeah, I do use a TBR as a focus point. It also helps me with events. How much am I going to read for June on the Range? Am I going to squeeze in anything for Book Trek or Summer of Sport, or where does Steinbeck fit in? All those kinds of things. I need that focus. I need to have, here's what I'm reading and here's where we're going. Number 5, do you suffer from the book noise of a TBR? No, because if I don't get to something, I just get rid of it. I don't. My TBR is not static. It is always active and moving and changing based on what's going on in life around me. And that's why even the next, I have 2 or 3 options, because I probably know what the next book is. But I'm also ready for a change to happen. And if something different comes next because of whatever reason, and I've reprioritized what I want to read and I've rethought what I want to read, then I just do it. So I really don't feel the noise. Girls rock your boys. Number 6, do you give your TBR a time limit? Does a TBR make you stress about reading quick enough? No, I don't. And if a book comes off that later TBR, it's still in that big, thousands of books that I want to get to at some point. But I don't put a time limit on it. I don't put that kind of pressure on myself. I'm really just, how am I going to read the things that I want to read right now and in the near future? And beyond that, we'll just see what happens. Number 7, do you have a rebellion syndrome? Not wanting to read a book because you put it on your TBR and now you feel like you have to read it. No, just because it's on my TBR doesn't mean I have to read it. In fact, if I'm reading a book and I'm not enjoying it, it's not resonating with me right now, I don't have any problem with setting it aside and coming back to it later. And that might be years later, and I've done that. Just because it's on a list of books that I want to read, I'm putting pressure on myself to read it. Because reading is supposed to be fun. I read because I enjoy reading. I like to read. I like to talk about books with other people. And so, no, I don't put any pressure on what I don't put any pressure on myself for that. The only time I would is if I was doing a buddy read or a group read. But even then, probably not a buddy read. I would be very careful if it's just me and one other person who I said I would read this book at the same time that they're reading it. I would want to make sure I pushed through and got that book read. But, even in a group read, if it's not striking me, I'm just going to say, hey, I'm sorry, this isn't working for me right now, and I'll drop out of the group, and nobody cares. Because we all want to do this because we're enjoying it. Nobody wants to hear from grumpy, cranky old guys like me. Number 8, which I think I've already answered. Do you keep books on your TBR until they are read or swap the TBR around regularly? I change it all the dang time. Number 9, have you ever killed a book by having it on your TBR too long? No, again, I pull it off the list. If it doesn't make any sense to me to read right now or in the near future, I just take it off the list and move on. And it can come back. Maybe it won't. It's all fine. Number 10, do you have a tick list for your TBR to tick off books as you read them? Yeah, but really it's just my own reading journal, my own reading log. I use Storygraph, and that's where I keep track of reading and keep track of my reviews, and I can go back. I haven't been keeping track of all the books I've read for all that long, but at least I've got the last few years, and so I can see, oh yeah, if I read this recently, I can see when I read it. I can now be tracking how many times I've read something. And so, yeah, I do check a box or tick a box, depending on which side of the pond. I don't even know how to finish that sentence. I check the box. Yes. I tick the box. Yes. 11. What one change do you think would help your TBR be more fun? I think it's working for me just like it is. I don't think I would want to make changes. I wouldn't want to make it necessarily bigger or smaller. The size kind of moves as I go. I really can't think of anything I'd change. I really like the way I'm choosing books, and I like the number that I'm choosing from, and I like the time horizon that I'm paying attention to. So I don't think there's anything I would change. And number 12, the conclusion. Are TBRs fun or not? Yeah, I think they are. I think for me, having that list of possibilities, having that narrowed focus to draw from really helps me. I can't work within literally thousands of books that I would love to read at some point. More books than I'm going to be able to read in my lifetime. Certainly as I focus on rereading, which I think is really important, and I've discussed that in other videos, it does help make reading fun. It makes reading more enjoyable because I know where I'm going. And I also change it as I need to make sense to me in my life right now. Basing my reading on the material conditions on the ground, as it were. So there we go. There's the tag. Are TBRs fun or not tag. Thanks for listening to me ramble about how I choose what books go on my list, what books go in the pile of things I might want to read. I've had fun thinking about this because I do it, but I had never put a lot of this into words. Words. All right, that'll wrap up this episode. Thanks so much for joining me today. And until next time, my name is Greg. This is Ghost Readers in the Sky. Keep on reading. And keep your to-be-read pile, or your pile of possibilities, or your list, or your stack, or your whatever you use to keep track of what you're reading. Keep it fun.